Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harpin and Rugby podcast. Joining me this week is someone back for cap number 47. He has his own online entity known as Post to Post Sport. Welcome back to Mr. Kieran Duffy.
Yeah, nice to be here coming towards the end of the season. Obviously, big one next week, and then it's the business end of the URC, so it's a busy time of year. So glad to get one more cap before the end of the season.
Absolutely. Well, let's turn our attention to our feature match of the week. And here is a generic 80-word summary of how things went. Leinster crushed Ospreys 68-14 at the Aviva Stadium, driven by Joe McCarthy's hat trick in a 10-try display. Jordan Larmour added 2 with further scores from Max Deegan, Josh van der Fleer, Jimmy O'Brien, Gary Ringrose and James Lowe. Leinster's dominant scrum, relentless line speed, and sharp support play overwhelmed the visitors, securing a bonus point inside 22 minutes. Ospreys replied through Hugh Sutton and a late Dan Edwards try, but Leinster's power, pace, and accuracy dictated the contest throughout. Now, obviously, we'll be going into a little bit more detail than that, and well, this was a comprehensive win for the boys in blue. We went with a strong enough lineup, had a couple of players back from injury, bit of a worry about the late withdrawal of Tommy O'Brien, but on the day, they definitely got the job done, Kieran.
Yeah, like you said, I think Tommy O'Brien is a big player for the final and the playoffs after that. I think he's been our best player probably this season overall. But yeah, look, comprehensive, comfortable win in the end. We were well on top in the first half. I was a little bit worried towards the end of the first half, thinking, maybe we were letting Ospreys into it a little bit. I thought we could have used the score, but obviously in the end we won by I think it was 54 points or something in the end. But yeah, I'm glad we went with a strong enough team. Glad we had Robbie Henshaw back starting and fit. I'm glad, generally speaking, I think it was the right decision to go not full bore, but kind of between the last 2 weeks, we were full bore. I suppose we were kind of full bore if you combine the teams for the last 2 weeks. So I think that was the right approach. I think in the past we probably struggled a bit because we've gone kind of full cotton wool. I was writing in one of my features on Post Sport Rugby Bullets. I don't think we need to go full cotton wool. I actually thought maybe we should have played a stronger team even. Ultimately, all's well that ends well, and we got the win. I was very impressed with Joe McCarthy, and I think we could use. It'd be good if he saved a few tries for next week as well, because I think that's the first hat trick he's ever gotten. He was an absolute battering ram. In fairness, I thought Josh van der Fleer had an excellent game as well. It was a bit of an unusual substitution in the second half. He kind of got pulled for. It looked like Ronan Kelleher came on for him, so I think Kelleher went to hooker and Gus McCarthy went to 7. I think McCarthy had gone to 7 for Ireland against Fiji before actually. And great to have Jordan Larmour and James Lowe back as well. So overall, a really positive game, I think. And it was always a game we were likely to win, I suppose, and being 28-7 up, Ospreys didn't have anything to play for by the last 20 minutes. They kind of looked like they were already thinking about their holidays. But in fairness, I think we needed to put down a marker. It's the last home game of the season, the regular season, last game before the Champions Cup final. I think we really need to put down a marker for this one. We couldn't, if it had have ended maybe just 35-7 or 35-14 or something, maybe it would have been a bit deflating that we didn't get a few more scores. So I'm glad we kind of ran riot in the second half, as we have often done this season. Oftentimes, most of our tries, I was having a look, particularly in the Champions Cup, most of our tries have tended to come kind of between the 50 and 70 minute or 50 and 80 minute. So yeah, I was really impressed with it. I thought James Lowe, word on him, he equaled the all-time try scoring record. I think, I mean, if he hadn't have gotten that injury against England, the Six Nations, he probably would have broken it by now. Just a word on Jordan Larmour, I thought he had a great game as well, considering he hadn't played in a very long time. Really, he had, I don't know when his last game was, but he had been injured for a very long time, and in fairness to him, he looked like he was making for last time, and he looked like he was kind of putting his hand up for, look, if we need a winger for the final, if we need a winger for the playoffs, pick me. And I think he's one of those players. He had a great start to his career, and then injuries kind of caught up with him. He kind of fell out of the Ireland loop a little bit. You realise when you watch him, he's still a very talented player. And, he has a contract. He's signed up for next season. I think if he can stay fit, he'll be a big name for next season. So yeah, overall, impressed with how we did. credit to Ospreys in the first half. They when they were 28-0 down, they didn't put the heads down entirely. They went and got their other try, and the game was kind of over as a I imagine it's a difficult thing to play in a game like this, especially the last 20. Excuse me, especially the last 20 minutes when you're however many points down, you have nothing left to play for. You're probably hoping ref just blow it up here. Crucially as well, got second seeding, so if we win the quarter final, and I think it is an if because it's hard to play a quarter final the week after a Champions Cup final, we won't have to go down to South Africa. Someone in South Africa will have to come up to us. I think that's crucial as well. Week off before the final, then if we get there, and again it's a big if because I don't think any of these games will be easy. But if we get to the final, it looks like there's a lot of debate around where the final will be. So it looks like we might have some kind of clash in Ravenhill. It looks like if Glasgow are us or the home team. But all in all, really positive going into the final. Hopefully Tommy O'Brien's fit, and no complaints. 54-point win. You can't have too many complaints with that.
Yeah, I mean, especially after last week, we basically what we were talking about the Lions game was how after 70 minutes, we only had two tries in, but it was concerning that we're finding it so difficult to score. So when you compare that to after 70 minutes this week, we had 68 points in. It's a lot better, but I think it's not only that we improved that. I mean, I think maybe starting with Gibson Park and Harry Byrne, which is obviously going to be a halfback combination next week, had a lot to do with that. But also, not only did we have the tries, did we find the scores and have the bonus point wrapped up after 22 minutes, but the defensive standards never slipped. And I think that you look at 10 tries. I'd say you look at maybe 3-4 of them at least were actually forced by our defense, and I think that's crucial. Like there was an intercept try, but it was also we had Ospreys under so much pressure throughout that they really couldn't find ways around us. It's an amazing thing to see, and we've seen it with different combinations of Leinster 15s on the pitch. It's not just our elite team that's able to do it. They all seem to be able to slot in and stick to the system. And even when even teams do get out quickly into the wide channels, we somehow seem to be able to recover. Sometimes I need to maybe freeze the telly and just count, make sure we actually do have 15. I haven't stuck an extra guy attacker onto the pitch because it's amazing to see it in action, especially when you're there at the Aviva and you see it from above. The teams try to teams come with an attacking strategy and they have ways of moving the ball. They like to go to certain areas of the field. They try to set things up a certain way, but when they're constantly just driven back by twin tacklers time after time after time, it's great. Now, our defense hasn't been totally great this season. We've let in too many tries, but to be hitting the straps in that area at this time of the season going into Bilbao, it's definitely a positive. And for me, I think it was the biggest takeaway from this game, or indeed the last 2 weeks. That we've been able to, we've got this system where now obviously Bordeaux are going to be looking at ways to get around it. They're going to, Lions tried everything last week. Ospreys, different proposition. They haven't had a great season. And of course, Bordeaux are going to be a different level again, but still it's a good place to be considering how our season has gone overall. It's good to see that at least the defensive systems are in place. The second half started to look comfortable. The tries just kept coming in. The tries, it was going to go 40 points, 50 points, 60 points. It was going to how much of a win it was going to be. There were, towards the end of the game, there were like seagulls flying around the Aviva Stadium. And, some would say for the Ospreys this season, there were vultures circling around them. But instead we had seagulls at the Aviva. It was a sort of a surreal occasion. The results on Friday night secured, meant any kind of a win, secured second spot for Leinster. So, like you say, we wanted to make a statement and we did, but, that kind of took the pressure off us a little bit, and we just asserted our superiority and the fact that our season was still alive. So someone made a comment in the WhatsApp group, like we were playing with Bilbao in mind, while Ospreys were playing with our holidays in mind. So I think that kind of made a difference on the day. But I mean, I don't know if you have anything else to add and stuff, but I think we pretty much covered that game from start to finish.